Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lackawanna City Council meeting for June 9th, 2025. Normally, we start with our caucus. What we're doing today is starting a half an hour early at 6 o'clock to accommodate anyone who, from the public, who wishes to ask any questions or make comments on the proposed budget that's up for consideration at today's meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that's here to address the city budget, proposed budget? And for the record, let it reflect there's no one here for that purpose. Well,
If we may,
yes.
I was at NICOM for the conference last Friday when we had the meeting, and I wasn't here, so I have a few questions, as long as,
Go ahead and ask.
okay, cool. I was gonna ask mostly about the revenue.
Okay.
Right? Page 3.
Yep.
Interest and penalties on real property taxes. Last year it was $250,000. This year it's $375,000. I was just wondering how we're gonna gain $125,000 in interest and penalties on real property taxes. You see where I'm talking about?
I see the line you're talking about, yeah.
That's a big jump. I was just wondering if there was.
I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Is that something you can answer maybe later on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Does this happen to have anything to do with any of the properties that we will be acquiring for the auction block, which we haven't done in the past several years?
I suppose it could, but I don't know specifically.
Councilman,
Can I talk now?
yeah, please.
All right. I mean, I wasn't here that day, so. Same page. A1120, non-property tax distribution by county. It's, last year was $7,900,000. This year it's $8,056,000. It's an increase of $156,000.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's sales tax.
Huh?
I believe it's sales tax.
Oh. Franchise fees for recreation was, last year was budgeted $4,000. Now it's up to $13,300. The bottom
Which
page
page?
223, maybe it's more than 3 times.
Oh, down at the
last
bottom.
year. But did we have, didn't we increase the fees, or, I don't remember.
We increased the fee for renting on the shelters.
Yeah.
The shelters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is franchise fees. This is for teams and stuff. Next page, more please. Interest on earnings. Last year was $229,000. This year it's $424,100. That's an increase of $195,100.
Yep. But you'll recall that we're also we're currently financing a city hall.
So we're holding that money. We're actually making money on that.
Well, you're not allowed to really make a ton of money on that, but the fact is we'll be holding more money. So I forecasted that we would potentially have more interest on what we're holding while we're building the city hall.
$200,000 more in interest.
Well, I think the budget was one thing. I think the actual was another, and then there was potentially more money. So raise the budget.
Building permits, 84555. Last year it was budgeted as 52,000. This year it's 80,000. That's plus 28,000.
I do get some of the numbers from other department heads and the like, so we did.
Council, in that particular case, we took a running rate on what's happening in Civic and backing out any aberrations, like for example, 300 Commerce Drive was a huge project and got you a very large number. We backed that out, but then took an adjusted average of that, and it did come out to be significantly more than what we're doing now. So it's based on a running rate of what we're seeing in Civic.
And I got one more. With all the building going on and everything, our total assessed valuation last year was 772 million. This year it's 776 million. It only went up 4 million, the assessed valuation.
That's not a question, that's
Yeah, I
not
know,
a
I
question I
know,
can
I'm
answer,
just
but
bringing it up.
yeah, it didn't go up by the
I
lot.
did talk to the assessor about, I think it's time to have a revale soon here. We're selling houses in my ward for 300, 350. One house just sold for 450,000. And the total assessed value from last year to this year only went up 4 million, so something's out of whack there. All right, I've got one more question. I don't think anybody brought this up. Page 21. It was an italicized job that looked like it was new, free statistician. Page 21, $91,704.
Yeah,
It's a new job, I don't know.
I don't think it's a new job. I think it's a job that we had to classify differently from the other. It's a job at a rate that is the same as, I believe, the detective, but it's not a detective, right? So if I count 6 detectives, the numbers next to the titles mean something, so it had to go on a different line, but it's the same A rate as a detective.
So what does a police statistician do?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's Matt Corsica does it, and he takes care of any of the calls, or not calls, but any of the FOIL requests, any of the stats that we need for arrests, et cetera. He does a lot of that.
Mr. Officer Gorska also responds to inquiries from the DA's office relative to criminal matters, from the prosecutor's office relative to criminal matters, and I'm sure there are a few other things that fall under his umbrella.
It wasn't in last year's budget.
It wasn't specific, it wasn't specifically
mentioned.
mentioned there, but I believe he was working in that position last year, right?
Just one thing.
He was still
further on
working.
that,
Yeah,
Councilman, I believe that's part of the negotiated contract with the police department, isn't it?
Yes.
So it would be difficult for us to go back at this point in time and.
Oh, I was just wondering what it was. I mean, it wasn't in last year's budget. It's brand new. It was italicized in the budget that we got May 9th, just like the human resource.
Right.
And nobody asked about it, so I was wondering.
Yep, I think it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's just a classification of the role, but it
Yes.
was accounted for in last year's budget.
yes, it was,
Correct.
yeah.
So they're not taking someone off the street and putting them in his job.
No,
Absolutely
no,
not.
absolutely not.
All right, that's all I got for now.
All right, thank you. In light of that, it's not even 10 minutes after 6. We could start with our caucus now and then start with the regular meeting. And to that end, let's do that. I'll call the formal caucus to order. And as most people understand, the caucus is an opportunity for council members to discuss the individual line budget items, or strike that, didn't mean to say budget, agenda items, ask any questions and debate them if necessary. The first several set-outs are administrative, so moving right to communications from the mayor. Mayor filed request City Council approve the ordinance for proposed budget 25-26. The proposed budget ordinance is attached. Any council members have any comments on number 2?
When we spoke last, not at this hearing of the budget, but the prior one, we had a special meeting. There was concern about the HR employee or that position that was at 35,000. It was told to us that because of the city attorney taking on other tasks and obligations that would tie their time up, that a HR director or employee would take on that task instead of the city attorney. We had questions of how employment positions are added, what protocols to be followed, and we also spoke about the city attorney's salary increasing over the years to accommodate for those tasks that were added onto their job description. So we received the adjusted proposed budget a couple days ago, but it still had that position in there. So we have to discuss that and see exactly what the intentions of that position is, what protocols to be followed.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, sir. We already discussed that. That was the whole idea of having the public meeting so that we could discuss, any members of the public could chime in and discuss. That's why we had that meeting. I brought up that position, I found it, asked about it, and as a result, I inquired further on it later on. And all of those things that were mentioned, I did mention as a concern. And two things came out of my conversations of different people in City Hall who are looking at that, particularly the mayor and then the law department. And I suggested to the mayor that and we did discuss the necessity of this, and any council member is welcome or was welcome to discuss this with either controller, legal, the mayor, whatever the case may be. So we're not going to take it up at the 11th hour now.
Why not?
Because we're not. We
Those
already have.
those conversations were done behind closed doors. That didn't include me. We had this conversation at the general.
You can go anytime you want to
It's
speak
still
to the
on
mayor, the law
okay, so what
department,
was
or
the
whomever.
response?
No, we're not doing it
What was
today.
can you share what the response was and why?
Yes, if you didn't interrupt me, I would have told
Go
you.
right ahead. You said we weren't gonna have
You
this
sure I have
conversation.
time?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Please don't interrupt me again. I don't interrupt you.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. And what was indicated to me was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ari, the law department used to intervene on the HR complaints, so to speak. Isn't it also the city attorney's position to be the hearing officer on the HR complaints?
Yes, that's correct.
Isn't that an obvious conflict?
Correct.
And wouldn't that be needed, require, or suggest an independent party for that purpose?
Yes, right, that is correct, Your Honor. Right now, I think there is a concern with the city attorney conducting an investigation and then also being consulted with respect to any resulting discipline that might occur. So to your point, that could be a potential conflict, and it would be in the best interest to have a neutral third party conduct the investigation. And that is typically how it is done, at least in larger organizations.
Yeah. And secondly, I did suggest, as we had done in the past, if there is a line item that requires a new position, that matter, that be approved by councilmatic action. So even though it's budgeted for it, it won't get filled, in my opinion, until councilmatic action takes place first.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor, and I believe if the budget is passed, the intention is that that position will be posted like any other position.
Yes. All right.
So the posting happens regardless of council voting on it, because by default of us accepting or voting yes on the budget, that would already create the go-ahead.
The posting does not create the position. The passage by the city council will do that. So it has yet to come before the city councils. So I don't think there's a prohibition of it being posted. If it's not approved by the council, it can't be filled, correct?
Yes.
All right, moving on to item number 3 from Councilmember Muflahi. submits 4 topics for discussion. Request immediate opening of Center Street, Franklin Street Playground for duration of summer and fall. B, request repeal of Leave It on the Lawn initiative. C, support to have grass clippings picked up by DPW. C, placing speed bumps back near every playground. D, update on the traffic light to be placed at the intersection of Lackawanna and Ridge Road. And I'll turn it over to you, Councilmember Muflahi, but again, this is just another example of items that if you communicate with the people in City Hall, you're aware of. For instance, we've been given an ongoing update on the traffic light for the intersection of Lackawanna and Ridge Road, and you were, please, you were on the council when it was agreed that certain dates were established for the placing of the speed bumps and for the removal of the speed bumps. So those dates have already been set, and if I'm not mistaken, the speed bumps have already been placed.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want with B, and A is, I believe, according to charter, a function of the Recreation Department. So, Councilmember Muflahi, you have the floor. Please proceed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I was going to withdraw letter C, because when I drafted this, the speed bumps were not up. So thank you, DPW, for placing the speed bumps at the areas of the playground. As far as letter A, the request for immediate opening of the Center Street and Franklin Street playground for the duration of the summer, regardless of whether or not the splash pad is open. You are correct, Council President, that is required or actually in support of the charter, because the charter clearly states that playgrounds are to be operational May 1st of every year. So yes, this would be contingent of the language in the charter, which we see that is not the case. The playground is still closed. There is no operation going on or accessibility for the children to access the playground portion, not necessarily the splash pad portion, because that is weather permitting. So my request of my colleagues here is to enforce the charter and have the playground open, regardless of whether or not the Director of Recreation.
May I ask you this?
Sure.
How do you, by what authority do you want to accomplish the force or the?
I believe it's
Okay.
pursuant by the powers given by the charter, not
Can
by
you-
myself.
Can you quote them?
Can I quote them? That
Yeah.
March 1st,
No,
May 1st
no.
of every year that the
What gives
playgrounds are
the
open?
authority to the council to require a department head who works at the pleasure of the mayor to require them to fulfill their function if in fact what you say is accurate as far as a May 1st opening, which I don't know for sure. I'd have to review that or ask the law department to do that. But I am asking you, by what authority would this council act to force the recreation director to open up the playground?
I stand by the city charter, and I believe that is a legal doctrine that we all have to follow.
Yes, what does it say what does it say as far as addressing the council's duty or rights
I
to?
believe we could vote on it.
It's not what you believe. Tell me what you just, you
The facts
quoted
are
this.
the facts. May 1st of
Oh,
every
no, no, no.
year,
You
the parks
referred
are
to-
to be open, so if they were
I'm
all
sorry, you
shut
referred to the
down.
city charter
Yes,
as giving us the authority. Would you quote that language for me, please?
it quotes the authority to have the park open.
Are
and
you guessing or
accessible.
you thought you?
The May 1st was also
No,
stated by the Director of Recreation,
My
and you
question-
can ask her yourself.
Okay, I don't have to do anything.
You
My
could,
question,
you could do
my,
it, you don't
my
have
question
to.
to you is this, one more time. By what authority in the city charter that you seem to be quoting authorizes the city council to order a department head to do anything?
I wasn't ordering her to do it per se, just executing the city charter. I think the legal doctrine speaks for itself.
Oh, well, you can use those flowery words, but what do you mean by the document speaks for itself?
The charter, if
Okay.
you look up in the charter, you will find
Again,
that
it's not my obligation, you brought this up.
it's in the
You're
charter.
quoting the
And
charter,
I'm telling you
please
that
do
it's in
so.
the charter.
Please do so.
In what way?
quote, the authority for the city council to require the director of recreation to open the playground.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but may I just interrupt for a moment to maybe shed some
Please.
clarity? I do recognize Councilmember Muflahi's point as it relates to a specific provision of the charter regarding the hours of operation for the city's playgrounds and parks. However, under section 170-2 of the city code, it's clear that the director of recreation has the authority to, has discretion to change the date of operations for the city's park due to inclement weather or any other circumstances which may affect the use of said playgrounds and parks. So I think under the city code, the director of parks and recreation has discretion to determine under circumstances when they should open.
Is that the code or the charter?
That's in the code.
Is there anything in the city charter that you are aware of, Harry, that would allow the council to create an action to force a department head?
No, Council President, I think this is a circumstance that the charter would clearly show in the spirit of checks and balances, which most state, local, federal governments obviously abide by, that this is an administrative function, which would be within the discretion of the department heads. And I would also note that the provision of the law that talks about the hours of operation of the city's parks is not in the charter, it's in the code.
Councilmember Muflahi, you have the floor.
And the purpose of this discussion is for it to be transparent for those at home who have questions of why city parks are not available or accessible to their children, rather than them assuming or guessing, they have the answer for themselves to see it live and in color. So this is great discourse, and this is to alleviate any rumors or assumptions on behalf of the parents. Thank you.
So the assumption that we as a council could act to require the playground be open is inaccurate, is that correct?
Well, they can interpret it for themselves.
I'm asking you.
I have no answer for you today.
Thank you.
And now for letter B. There was a new initiative that was adopted by the city council, which we did act on, to leave the Leaves on the Lawn initiative, which was something that we voted to do so. I myself was opposed to it. But then there was the passing of that initiative where residents were told to leave their clippings on the lawn, and it was supposed to be good for the environment. It was supposed to save a lot of money to the city. However, within the past 2 weeks, they were also informed that they can haul their leaves, haul their grass clippings in their cars and take them and dump them on North Lackawanna Avenue. So what is it? Is it best to keep your clippings on the lawn? Is it not? Is it counterproductive? Should we have our seniors hauling grass in their cars? It's just something that I think is actually punishing people that actually want to take care of their lawns versus having it grow to knee length and knee height and leaving it the way it is, where that isn't punished, it's actually awarded in our city.
Okay, so what exactly are you?
I would like to repeal it. The ordinance hasn't been provided. I have not reached out to the city attorney to draft a ordinance, but it would be within the best interests of our residents. I don't know if any of your constituents have reached out to you, but many have reached out to me and they don't like it. They would like to have grass clippings picked up as they used to in the past, and that was, it kept the city cleaner, it kept people mobilized to mow their lawns and not have to worry about hauling it from 4th, 3rd, 2nd Ward all the way to North Lackawanna.
Any other council member wish to comment?
Yeah, I'll just say that I haven't gotten any phone calls, I don't know if anybody else did.
Yeah. I've got phone calls about that. I have a mulching mower, and I think nowadays, I would think most people do have a mulch. So I've been doing that for years, and as far as the grass clippings, because of it was passed, I think people have gotten a little nutty about it, and they're blowing their grass into the street. They're saying they're gonna bag it and take it to the mayor's office. They're gonna throw it on I mean, this is insane. And to take it, West Seneca, we take your grass clippings and that sort of stuff, and you take it to the DPW, and they make mulch out of it. And you could come back and get the mulch for your gardens and stuff. So, I think they're making a big deal out of something. Anytime there's a change, you're gonna get, nobody's gonna like it. You're always gonna get the people that don't like it. I think maybe we could have gave the residents a heads up, like a month in advance that it was going to happen so they could make arrangements. It was done very quickly, and that first week, it was crazy.
So the calls that you received were in support of the leave it on the lawn?
No,
Okay,
they
and
were-
did you tell
they
them to
were-
go buy a mulcher?
no, I didn't tell them what to do. I just said the reason was the savings we were gonna get from not picking them up, which I thought was excellent. Anytime we could save money in this city for something of that nature, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, if I bagged mine, I mean, I'd probably get 300-400 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't need a new mower, you need new blades, mulching blades.
Mulching,
You
right?
don't need a new, brand new mower. You get
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. You gotta cut it more than once a month though, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean.
I'm cutting mine every 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, yeah, it's growing
Yeah.
fast.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Right,
You gotta stay on it. If you let it get this high, then
That's my opinion. I think it was a great move by Dan Durkin to save money for the city, and, you know, it's like anything. Anytime there's a change, it takes time for the public to get used to it. And they're gonna object. In time, next year, they might say, you know what, a good move. Saved $85,000, I believe it was, or something to that
It's
effect.
at least 50,000.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Yeah,
That was
but
wonderful.
when residents are privy, our residents are not stupid, and I know that you.
Nobody's saying they are
And I
stupid.
know
Why would you
that's-
say
and
that?
And that's exactly what I was gonna say, and I know that's not what you're saying. However, when they see that things are being reduced, there's services that are decreasing, but then you have salaries that are upwards of $10,000 within the past 2 years that are increasing, that is insulting to the residents. It really is, because we're saving in one area, but we're rewarding other areas and taking away from
I think
the
within these
residents.
past 6 years that I involved in this council, I think the mayor and the department heads have done an amazing job at straightening out all the nonsense that's been going on in this city for the past 30 years. Bethlehem Steel isn't here anymore. The cash cow is gone. And we allowed like the first ward to deteriorate. John Ingram and I started to get a traffic light, at least one traffic light in the first ward because a former mayor decided we didn't need any back then. What an insult to everybody that lives in that first ward. But again, it takes time and people get used to it. And it'll be fine. I guarantee you next year, people will do it.
They have no choice.
No.
They have no
And
choice,
as far
and
as,
that's the thing, we're not
and I
giving people
believe you made a
choices.
statement one time saying, well, how are these people gonna get to North Steel Lackawanna? Come on, Jesus, no.
How are,
They got family, they
How are
got
they
kids and stuff.
I said that? This thing
Yeah,
just,
no, you did make that
this
statement.
just started, the relocating hauling your clippings
Yeah, I
to this
understand.
location
Yeah, I understand.
just happened.
Yeah,
So there was no statement of mine that was ever
no,
made.
you did bring it up, how are
That was never a
elderly people
conversation.
gonna do that?
How are elderly people gonna have their lawns taken care of to their standards? I mentioned that, I never mentioned North
No,
Steel
I
Lawn until
think
today
you
because
did.
that's
I
a new
personally think you did.
phenomenon.
Yeah.
And they're forced to, and they have no choice but to do that, or to leave it on the lawn and then have it turn into hay.
If I may add one more thing, years ago, they had a compost at the city barn,
Yeah.
years ago. You could bring that, I'm not saying that the old citizens
Right.
should bring their stuff there, but remember they used to,
Yeah,
they had a big area in the back and everybody would dump.
you could come get mulch.
Yeah.
When I was on the fire department, we would go down there
Oh, there you go.
and we were landscaping the front of house 3, and they gave me any mulch that I wanted, and it was, just come get it. That stuff.
So would it be asking for too much to have DPW pick it up and bring it to the barn? Instead of having it go to the landfills?
That might be an option.
I have no comment at this time.
I've had a
I
few
don't-
calls myself, and I volunteered to take the mulch
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
put these down if they need it, if nobody's called yet. If you want it, I'll take it.
Dan, did you want to
All
say
right,
something?
No, I have nothing to say.
Good man.
Can I say something about this, the splash pad, please? The splash pad is in the second ward. Okay? And when something's put on the agenda for something in my ward, I'd like to be informed first and discussed it. I think if we would have discussed this a couple weeks ago, when I got all the information, we wouldn't have this problem today.
Okay,
And I don't appreciate something in my ward that I represent being put on the agenda without being.
did I not mention this prior, the closing of the splash pad? Wasn't this already a conversation we had two meetings ago?
Right, last
And-
meeting, can I finish? Last meeting, it was brought up, and I got all the information after that meeting. Okay, so I could have gave you all the information you needed.
You could have given me a phone call, you knew it was a
No, you
concern
could
of
have
mine.
called me to put, before you put it on your,
Residents that live along Center Street, if you're not aware.
you're right.
My first ward and your second ward is divided by Center Street. I have every right to have concern about Center Street splash pad just as much as you do.
Okay,
You should have given me a courtesy of calling.
So is this territorial, is the pushback
Okay, that's
territorial?
not- that's
Because I
not fine.
feel that it is, it's not about what's right,
no,
it's
no.
about
All right,
how people
let me
feel.
just say this, and let's put this to rest. There was a point in time when these kinds of courtesies and these kinds
We
of
looked at a bunch of different
conversations
options.
took place. It wasn't necessary to put items on the agenda unless people were being ignored. These kinds of things are day-to-day business decisions made within the department that exists in City Hall. Simple phone calls, simple visit to a department head or the mayor's office. A lot of these things could be resolved, but no, some people feel that they need the attention by putting it on the agenda, which is their right. However, does that foster a communication and a working relationship? Well, you're hearing it now. So the only thing I would ask is in the future is, out of consideration, if it's something happens in somebody else's ward, give them a heads up. Give them, if you discuss it with them. If something comes up, discuss it with the department head first, instead of putting them on the hot seat in a public forum, which isn't really necessary unless you're intending a different result. So we're kind of losing the camaraderie and the work together concept that we started this with when I started on the council, and that seems to be deteriorating on a regular basis. And I don't know the reason for it, but unfortunately, that seems to be lacking. And all I'm asking is that each member take into consideration there are other consequences and other people who are affected by whatever we say and whatever we do and how we conduct ourselves. Nobody is saying no one else has the right to do whatever they think is appropriate. But by the same token, is it something that can't be handled without, spending an inordinate amount of time at a city council meeting? I think it could be, or many of these could have been and should have been. That not being the case, maybe in the future, we'll exercise those kinds of sensibilities. Councilmember Muflahi, is there anything else on your item number 3?
Number 3, or letter C, was withdrawn. So letter D, the update on the traffic light, that's at Lackawanna, that is to be placed there. Again, these items were placed on the agenda so there's transparency, so people at home know what's going on. Our conversations that we have in a vacuum don't do anything for the taxpayer. They deserve to know the updates, not just assume that everybody knows because we've had conversations. So if you're offended that I put certain things on the agenda, that's okay, because the people at home deserve to hear it. So the update for the traffic light, yes, I was on the email and I did respond to it when Dan sent us the update, and I've been continuously updated. Thank you, Dan. However, the people at home don't get those emails. They don't have the ability to have those conversations. So if you can provide us with an update on the traffic intersection at Lackawanna Ridge, that would be fabulous.
This
And
question,
let me just, and perhaps you've been aware when you've sat here, that when we either go through old business or tabled items, that's an opportunity for the council members to say, hey, Dan, can you give us an update on the street light on the corner of Lackawanna Ridge Road?
I brought this
That's what we
up
always-
a few times in past meetings. Dan's been nice enough to keep us updated on it. So the public, if they're watching, they do know.
This gives him
It
the
does
opportunity to
give the
know,
public the
and it has
opportunity
the
to
opportunity
understand.
for the public to know. You're absolutely right.
All right, anything else on item number 3?
Number 3, we passed already, and that was withdrawn. So,
Number 3 is withdrawn?
no, letter C of 3, just the update of Dan. And in response to Dan's email, I also said, this is great news, Dan. This is something that I did include on the agenda, and I'm sure the residents will be very happy to hear your update.
You know, some council members have regular meetings in their wards for the very purpose of bringing the constituents up to date. And we did the same thing per your request, for the second time to have a public forum to give the public an opportunity to comment on the budget, and no one came.
Because that was ill publicized.
Of course, it's not,
It was.
it's our
It
fault
was never
always,
mentioned.
right?
It was never
It's-
mentioned
it's
on
all-
Facebook that was the
I know.
purpose. It wasn't for the purpose of the the budget discussion. It was said that the caucus will begin at 6 PM. You are absolutely right. It did not say why.
Yes, it
did.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And Dan has given us numerous,
Can he tell the
numerous,
people?
he has given us numerous updates
Yes,
about the traffic light over the last 6 months.
yes.
Every time he's asked, he's done it, and he sent us the update.
Absolutely has.
So, again, the
Can
public
he tell
knows,
the public
okay?
of the new dates?
Now, let me ask you something.
Sure.
When I was on the traffic board, I wanted to have at Lackawanna, just like they have at, St. Anthony's? They put stripes on the street, put a sign there when somebody steps into that. I wanted to do that at Lackawanna. You shot it down.
Absolutely.
Why?
You said near St. Anthony's?
no,
I didn't
it's
say
on,
St.
it's on Ridge
Anthony.
Road.
You did not say St.
It's on
St.
Ridge
Anthony's.
Road.
St. Ives.
St. Ives.
To give
And
people
you shot it down.
I did.
And you know what you told me?
I absolutely did. That
You're-
would give people false hope.
So is that what happens when these children are crossing too?
There's a
Many
difference
towns,
between an
many
intersection.
towns and villages all over this area have that. A pedestrian steps into that, you're supposed to stop.
You're supposed
We
to
have,
stop.
since I've got on the council, reduced the speed limit in the first ward to 30 miles an hour. That was 40 to 45 miles up, 4 lanes, 2 lanes going each way. We reduced that, we put bike paths in there, parking in there, and it's worked out fantastic. It slowed the traffic down. Anybody in that first ward tried to cross the street, and at Lackawanna, the way it is now, you're taking your life in your hand. I was giving them an option to help stop that.
That was
And you
after-
shot it down.
That was
Why?
after we already.
Still
that-
to this day, I can't
Okay.
understand
All right.
why
I will
you did
answer,
that.
I will
All right.
answer you.
All right, no, it's not a
Why
debate on
not?
that. No,
We have plenty of time.
no,
We
we're
have
not
plenty
gonna,
of time to
obviously,
discuss
this is heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's,
I
are
can
you
never respond,
finished with
but
your
that's
section?
okay.
Councilman-
I'm actually not, because I haven't, the public has not received an update about the new information that we received for the traffic light.
Dan, you wanna give us an update?
Yes, the contractor is starting all of the underground work sometime this week.
Okay,
Street
and
cut-
what is the underground work?
So all the electrical that needs to go underground, there's gonna be, they have to cut the road there, all 4 corners of that intersection, all that need to be redone. So, I'm not sure if this week they'll be tearing up the sidewalks on all the corners, or I'm not sure what the process is, but they told me they're starting this week.
Thank you.
And as the project progresses, I will keep everyone informed.
Very good,
Well,
thank
sure,
you.
yeah, thanks, Ken. Councilmember Muflahi, are you done with item number 3?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Moving on to communications from Division Department Heads, number 4, City Attorney requests City Council approve resolution between City of Lackawanna and Spectrum Northeast LLC to authorize mayor to sign saying, Ari, you want to give us just a little background for the public?
Sure, so this is the Charter Spectrum franchise agreement. Essentially, this is an agreement that would provide or allow Charter Spectrum to provide cable TV internet services throughout the city. The proposed agreement is a non-exclusive agreement, meaning that Charter Spectrum is not the only provider that can be in the city. It's a 10-year contract term. As some of us in the room may or may not know, and some of us on the council may or may not know, these contracts are heavily regulated by the New York State Public Service Commission and also the FCC, so there's not a ton of wiggle room to negotiate these contracts. But, you know, there's a franchise fee in the contract of 5%, which is the city would get 5% of the gross revenue. That's set by the FCC. I believe that's the maximum amount that the city can recover. And there is a requirement for a public hearing, which was conducted, I believe, by Mr. Clark on April 30th. So this is really just the council approving the mayor executing the agreement so that Charter Spectrum can continue to provide services in the city.
And you reviewed the contract for form and substance, correct?
I did, yes, and my predecessor negotiated it.
Any council members have any questions or comments on item number 4? Moving on to item number 5.
One question, where is that money in the budget as long as we're, I mean,
That's a good question.
I would presume it's in franchise fees, but.
oh, French. Okay, I'll look it up, I'll find it later, thank you.
Item number 5, Director of Marketing Development, request City Council approve 2 resolutions pertaining to the creation of OLV/Central Business District Historic Property Overlay Zoning District. Director Clark, you want to give us a brief summary of this?
Yes, thank you very much, Council President. In February 26th of 2024, the Our Lady of Victory complex, which includes the Basilica, the school, the corresponding parking lots up to the property line of the cemetery, and then across the street, 780, 790, and the corresponding lots to those buildings were all placed on the National Register of Historic Places. And while that gave prominence to OLV, OLV is also within the Central Business District of the city. Central Business District runs from South Park and Maple Grove, north up to the intersection of South Park and Ridge, and then west down to the intersection of Ridge and Center Street. So the reason that that is pertinent is that we're all aware, or should be aware, of the ongoing issues with the Catholic Church and the closing and sale of properties and things of that nature. To help protect the architectural integrity and the historic integrity of the OLV complex, we're creating this overlay which still does not eliminate the Central Business District, but would require any redevelopment of the OLV complex to fall within very strict guidelines of the architectural significance and criteria that has guided that campus for decades. Otherwise, without this overlay, and I'm making the most extreme example, if by some chance the Our Lady of Victory organization was ever forced to sell the school, for example, let's just say they close the school and close it, anybody could come in with the Central Business District criteria and put a restaurant, put a bar, put anything there that fits the Central Business District criteria. So we're not trying to kill the Central Business District, but what we're trying to do is, relative to the significance of OLV, create a layer of protection that whatever development goes there would be consistent with the historical significance of both the Basilica and the adjoining buildings that Father Baker, helped create and exist today. In the audience is Ben Dwyer, who is an attorney for the Human Services Division of OLV, representing all of the groups today, including charities in the Basilica. And Tom Voigt from CNS Engineers was the technical expert behind this. So what we're looking to have you do is approve 2 resolutions. One would be the creation of the overlay, and the overlay would be strictly bounded by the properties of OLV, and then the second resolution would require you to rezone the reclassify, the properties within that overlay district to go from Central Business District to the additional layer of protection.
Thank you, Chuck. Any council members have any questions or comments on item number 5 and the related resolutions?
Chuck, would this be one of the steps that are necessary, or is this the final step?
Great question, Mira. As you know, we're doing a zoning code update project. Under perfect circumstances, we would have probably built something like this into that overall project. Given what's going on in the diocese, we accelerated this piece of it. If the council approves both of these resolutions this evening, it's over. It's in effect. We would carry it over to the next iteration of the zoning code based on the outcome of the zoning code project. Certainly wouldn't necessarily change anything, but it will go from today's version to tomorrow's version as well. But the OLV overlay district would be completed should the council approve both of the resolutions today.
Well, and would that be identified statewide as well? Like the historical association?
So that already exists. So the Register of Historic Places already exists. But what that doesn't do, just to be clear, just because it's on the historic register, that doesn't supersede local zoning and planning laws. So what this does is just match the two. So you've now got the historic designation and you've got rules and regulations in place that help protect the integrity of this going forward. But one other thing I want to point out, and Mr. Dwyer was great at bringing his colleagues together. This was not created without input from OLV, because OLV is always under regulatory guidance in terms of its human services division, and they may have to make renovations such as elevators and other accessibility type things over time. So we were very cautious with Mr. Voigt's help to make sure that the language of the overlay is protective but not prohibitive of OLV's ability to do its work.
Awesome. So initially when you proposed this in February, you mentioned that it was going to take several steps and maybe some time, but you were able to accelerate the process.
Yes, so to that point, just very, very quickly, the several steps included a public hearing, open comment periods, dialogue with the folks at OLV. Mr. Voigt undertook all of the seeker and the state historic preservation outreach that needed to happen. He did that on behalf of the city. So those were all administrative and compliance steps that needed to happen in addition to public input. So all of those things happened. We moved them a little faster as we continued to monitor the situation with the diocese. So here's where we are today.
Great, so this seals the deal.
This will seal the deal, and then as, again, just one final point, as we move into the new iteration of zoning, this will carry over.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes, sir.
is anything being done along those same lines to include the library?
So to that point, we will look at that as part of the zoning code update.
Okay, very good. And Mr. Dwyer and Mr. Boyd, thank you for being here today. I don't know if you have any comments you wish to add at this point.
Not unless there's any questions.
I don't believe there are any further, but you're welcome to make any comments if you feel they're necessary.
Nothing other than just to thank the members and the department heads for all their hard work on this. We appreciate our position in the community, and we look forward to continuing to work with everybody because we have very unified interests in being a part of this community.
Thank you for your efforts and for being here. Okay, moving on to item number 6. City Clerk requests City Council approves Lackawanna Senior Center bocce court for the general election Tuesday, November 4, 2025. The council members have any questions or issues with that? Item number 7, City Attorney requests City Council approve memorandum of understanding and addendum between City of Lackawanna Global Concepts Charter School authorizing mayor to execute same. Memorandum is for the school Global Concepts Charter School shadowing program with law department. 2 students will shadow city attorneys for court proceedings, etc. That was part of our packet, including all of the agreements, language, insurance, etc. And the need for confidentiality. That was all part of the package, which we appreciate. Any area we want to add anything to that?
I'll just be brief and say that I think this is a really good opportunity for the students and a good opportunity for the law department. And it's, these 2 students are part of the school's vocational center that opened a couple of years ago. And right now they don't really have any pipeline for law. They have other, professions, other trades, and they're really developing and working on establishing partnerships with local organizations to, among others, but to pursue law as a potential career. So, obviously, given the confidentiality of the things that come through the law department, it's not necessarily the traditional internship program where you would see students, performing work or looking at documents or things like that. But just wanted to say that I think it's a great opportunity, and I have spoken with both the city court judge and the assistant city court judge, and they're excited to have the students here, and we'll definitely try to, involve them to the greatest extent possible, and hopefully they'll also attend the July council meeting as well.
Very good. Any council members have any comments on item number 7? Moving on to item number 8, again from the city attorney, request city council rescind chapter 5-50 municipal code, mayor's salary. This was the issue regarding the one-time follow prescription for the mayor's salary, that being that it was $100 more than whatever the city controller was making. After reviewing the documentation, it was determined that that action that was taken by the city council probably exceeded their authority without a referendum on the charter. And I believe, Harry, you can add anything if you want, but this is being done to help clarify that issue at this point in the hopes that it goes forward rather than future administrations relying on what was a mistake in the first place. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I know that a lot of work or research was done on this by my predecessor, John Gahn, but I think the thought or the spirit of the rescission or revocation is that the mayor's salary would not be tied to the comptroller's salary.
Thank you. Any council members have any comments or questions?
Yeah, as long as we're here,
Yeah, that's why we're here.
I was in the city attorney's office today, and I was thanking her for putting this on. I've been adamantly against salary being tied to the controller, the mayor's salary, any mayor, not just this mayor. And I actually said, this might be Father Bakerstead's miracle. It's like,
You can only hope, right?
So, yeah, we were told in a few different ways that we had to go a different route, referendum and all that, but this came to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda number 9 from our city controller, because council approved the ordinance adding a revenue code for cannabis tax distribution. Jacqueline, anything you want to add on that?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Any council members have any questions or comments on item number 9? Communications from citizens, David Beers, owner of Sunny Reds. Make any comments during the meeting, so we'll call you up at that particular time.
Thank you.
And business registrations, Socotra LLC, 671 Ridge Road. And then you have a table item regarding the request for a business license at Public Auto Connect. And you're Mr. Korskowski?
I am here.
I appreciate your being here. We can handle this during the regular part of the meeting, but we asked you to be here in particular because we'd like to address certain concerns of the neighborhood that have come forward and how you intend to handle them before we consider your application. But once we call the meeting to order, there will be a time for the public to address the council, and you will be welcome to do that at that point. We'll call you up to do that then, all right? Unless there's anything further, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I ask the city clerk to bump it.
Maflahe? Present. Anderson? Moretti?
Here.
Sirdike?
Present.
Morano? Law Department?
Here.
Development and Marketing?
Here.
Public Works?
Here.
Public Safety?
Here.
Comptroller?
Here.
Recreation?
Here.
Thank you. Hearing from citizens, Sharon Beers, you've got the floor.
Good evening. I just wanted to address, I'm representing Sunny Reds.
Yes.
We submitted a letter request for outdoor entertainment license so that we could provide mechanical music and live music over the summer months at our establishment, 1841.
Yes. And I believe you were present when the council expressed concerns not only of your establishment as it existed before and some other establishments relative to the excessive noise beyond a certain decibel level. We're hoping you're going to operate within that. And there are residents' homes that do abut up to your back boundary line where usually the stage is, which creates its own difficulties. So we're hoping you address those situations.
Certainly. So we've made improvements by adding a stockade fence around the property perimeter, so that should abate some of the noise. And we've also enclosed in, so previously the pergola area was open, it's now completely enclosed. So that should, create a noise barrier and force the music to go back into our yard as opposed to going into into the neighborhood. We've also, our intent is to run the live music, stopping it, do it Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays and stopping it earlier, like at 9 p.m. To keep it quieter in the more evening hours. So, that's our intent. And speakers facing towards Abbott Road, which is already noisy already, we can kind of, hit the building and kind of keep it going that way.
Well, we would be appreciative of that.
Yeah, certainly.
Any council members have any questions of Ms. Beers?
Where did the band set up?
Well, typically, I think they had set up in the back, so I'm thinking if we put them in the back and face their speakers towards our buildings,
Yeah.
it should keep the noise from going up over into the neighborhood as opposed to going, forward towards our building and Abbott Road and the business
I
area.
see it's out there, there's been a lot of work done.
Yes.
All right, that's all.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Our next citizen is Matt Adams.
Hello, I'm just here because I know that Ice House has recently got their trial period for June, and I just want to let you guys know it's off to a great start. I got a video from Saturday already, and wound up calling the police department to have them turn it down, so I'll play it. And that's from my front door, just over my front door.
And how far away is your front door from?
I'm 4 houses, an empty lot plus 4 houses down. So well over 50 foot, which is what the ordinance calls for. I did.
Oh.
Yeah, I waited about a half hour to see if it was gonna go down, but, so that's when I called.
And what was the result?
I went down lower and then I had a birthday party to go to, so at that point I just left and I wasn't there to really hear anything after that, so I get back to later in the evening.
All right. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just wanted to bring it up before the July renewal, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ben Dwyer. Anything else on that, Ben?
No, I'm sorry, I thought that was a sign-in sheet, so.
Oh,
I don't have
okay.
it.
Okay. Next speaker is Catherine Miller.
Good evening, Honorable Council. I'm just here again to speak about Public Auto Connect. We're still having tons of issues with them parking illegally. Twice today, they were parked, I had to call the cops earlier, and then on my way here, they had another car parked in front of the signs with no plates. They're still speeding up and down the streets with no plates. We have lots of children at the end of our street. It's very scary. The one little girl, she has a habit of going out, we shouldn't have to worry about our kids' safety on a dead-end street. Last week, there was a car, middle of the street, more than halfway down. Guys out of the car doing wiring or something on it, but in the middle of the street, blocking traffic in both directions. We also believe that if they're going to be given the business license, that they should have to have customer and employee parking on their property. Because None of them park on the property. They're always on the street. It's always a safety issue. They have no regard for the neighbors since day one. I have personally been approached by the owner and asked, I don't know why you hate me. I don't know what I ever did to you. I said, you don't respect the neighborhood. You don't follow the rules. That's all we want. We want our neighborhood safe the way it was before he opened. There are several of the neighbors who wanted to come and speak, but they are elderly and they are fearful of retaliation. So I did think about trying to get like signatures and stuff, but I didn't know how far that would take merit. So I'm just here speaking again on behalf of my entire neighborhood, and that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Ms. Miller. We'll take your words into consideration. Next individual is,
I have a
yes.
question. Has there been any tickets issued there, do we know, or?
I believe there has been some parking tickets. I'm not sure exactly more than that. Cops are called a lot. I know a lot of warnings are given. Or by the time the cops get there, the cars aren't up and down the street anymore, so.
I was gonna ask our public safety director.
Sorry.
I know we made that issue, you know, with the, let me put it this way. I have spoken to both Chief and Captain Kukuleka about it, and they have updated their patrols and are working on it, but it's a parking issue. It's a more, it may even be falling under code violations that other than the fact that they're up and down, if that's the case, with no plates on. So they're called and they're doing what they can.
If there are no plates or they're parked illegally, why aren't they towed?
I don't have an answer for that. I can get back to you with that.
Okay, is it a state certified inspection station also? Do you know?
That I'm not aware of, no.
Okay.
Across the street is repair shop
Yeah,
across the street.
we'll get to you in a minute. Lynette Welch?
I'm here on behalf of the Ice House Club. We did have the decibel reader up. I also made the band sign something stating that they would stay under the 75 decibels. I also downloaded an app for a decibel reader on my phone and took several screenshots of different times. And the police were called, and they did come. It was Officer Madigan and Maxim. They both apologized and said that they didn't see it being too loud. They didn't think it was, and they left. I have decibel readers of 73.2. It was one of 77.5 that was caught when the ice cream truck was going by. I then walked up the street, down 2 houses to Mr. Logan's house, and it was at 54, being in front of his house. I then went across the street to City Hall, and that was at 66. And that's taken facing City Hall and away from facing my bar, which is Ridge Road. I did call the mayor also this morning. She said she has received no complaints and she didn't see any issues with it. So I understand you're giving me one chance. So is this my one chance because the police were called by somebody? But he too just said the noise was okay, but then said it wasn't. They called police.
Well, I believe what he said was he called the police and then the volume was lowered, was reduced.
I wasn't lowered from the, and I can have the officers.
Well, I think it's important for you to continue doing what you're doing, keeping records of the decibels, so on and so forth. It might be incumbent of the city to take readings on their own also. Now, does the instrument you use need to be calibrated?
Not to my knowledge, no. And the one on my phone, I can show it to you. If you want to see it, I can pass it up.
I know that the phone apps will maybe put you in a ballpark. They're not going to be a scientific reading though.
No, but I also
right?
have the decibel reader that was in the back and it coincided with my phone.
Okay, well, we appreciate the update and we'll take that into consideration, obviously. Keep your records, that's all we can suggest.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Unless there's an objection by the council, why don't we take Mr. Korskowski next, rather than have him wait till the end of the meeting? Sir, you've heard one of the individuals who lives on the street. This has been what we have been informed of on several different occasions when your application for a business certificate has come up. Parking issues, unlicensed vehicles, uninspected vehicles, testing of vehicles up and down the street. Anything you want to say?
Yes, Your Honor. First, I'd like to say, all her concerns, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. Everything she's saying are concerns of mine too. I certainly, if I was driving up and down the street, I'd have a plate on the vehicle. The shop next door, after they fix the car, making sure it's okay, speeding up and down a little bit to make sure the brakes work, could possibly be them. It's not me. I'm not saying that people haven't took test drives, and maybe from the concerns, I could redirect them not to go down Barlow and take it down that road. But I was never addressed by any of the neighbors. I actually asked the neighbors to left and right, have I ever given you any problems? And they say, no, you're great. I always make sure the seniors on the street, their shovels are, if I got my plow truck, I plow out their driveway so they're not out there. I've never been approached by anyone and said exactly what I'm doing wrong. I've heard you guys say that today, that, bring it to someone, do about it before it's brought to the meeting. Never once. I got pictures taken, the cops called about 30 to 40 times. I mean, I've called the police department and said, I'm sorry about this, I know you guys are for emergencies. Sometimes I feel like I'm being attacked. Anytime, and it's not even me all the time. There's 3 other businesses on the same corner. Our parking was taken, so we can't park in front of the business down into a residential area. So now my customers are parking sometimes there, so I am taking some space on my own property for our own parking. So I already have taken steps, and with the community, reaching out, I have been on my tippy toes and more vigilant to exactly what's going on with them and their concerns.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Korskowski. Do you remember having a conversation about any of this with Ms. Miller?
Never. I asked her why she's taking pictures, and she just turned around and left.
It's not true. I was walking the dog. I was walking my dog, and he said, I was taking pictures because there was cars parked illegally, and he said, I don't know why you hate me or what I ever did to you, and I said, you don't respect the neighborhood, you don't follow the rules. That is our issue with you. And then I continued on walking with the dog because I didn't want an altercation to ensue.
Well, Mr. Korskowski, the other thing I can tell you is we on the council are hoping that all of our businesses are good neighbors. And if not, then obviously we have to take steps accordingly to ensure that people have the right to enjoy their homes, especially if their kids are out, and you understand the concerns of that, you express it yourself. So do you have any comments you wish to leave with the city council?
No, Your Honor, I listened to what she had to say. This could have been taken care of a long time ago if it was brought up to me. I will respect all my neighbors' wishes, and I will.
Well, you have that information now.
I do.
So let's see what happens from this day forward, right?
Yes, sure.
We'll take a measurement of that then. The only thing we can do is ask you to be a good neighbor. It's no different from any other neighbor that we would have, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and we do appreciate you coming in and discussing this with us, so.
Colleen's been working with me. She's also, she would ask if she's been.
Is your name Colleen?
My name is Colleen Campbell.
Yeah, Colleen, what do you have to say?
I've worked for Nick at that location for 6 years. It's a 3rd generation business. I have always parked in that spot since day one and never had an issue up till this year. We want to get along with everybody. We don't want confrontation. We don't want conflict. We're just a small business trying to add to the community, give back to the community. We've even talked about having a neighborhood barbecue so the neighbors could come and attend to voice any concerns. We've talked about many options that we could do to get us all together so we can all be on the same page and all work together. We don't want any trouble. We don't want any conflict. I certainly can address her concerns and feel that they're valid. but we needed a chance to fix it because we didn't know what they were.
Okay, well, you know, maybe before you leave tonight, make arrangements to open the lines of communication so that you don't have to have to come here. And we don't have to resort to taking other steps ourselves with licenses and so on and so forth. So we appreciate you all being here. Let's keep the communications going and let's just try to be good neighbors. We appreciate you being here. Any council members have any comments?
I just have a question. How are the dealer plates affixed to your vehicles when they're going out for test drives?
So, they're usually on the back, or sometimes we put them in the back window. Therefore, because dealer plates are a hot item to take, so sometimes when we're in the back of cars, there are people that will snag them and it's no fun getting them back.
Do you have like the laminated rope thing where you could just push it into the trunk?
Sometimes we got a bag that will go over like a windshield wiper, or sometimes it'll be right in the back window where the brake light.
Okay, because we've seen footage where none of that existed, and I was wondering if you had it somewhere else in the vehicle.
Sometimes we'll lock them. If the car was parked, it'd be on the front dash.
But if they're not being mobilized, they're not necessary, right? Like you don't have to affix or display the dealer plate if it's parked on your property.
No.
Right, so the concern was only whenever they're being in transit.
Yes, I mean, it was brought up that taking test drives with no plates. I mean, I have plates, there's no reason to that.
Thank you.
I've got something.
Yeah.
What actually do you do there? Fix cars or what?
So I have a used car lot. There's a repair shop across the street. There's another used car lot. There's 2 used car lots across the street and a repair shop.
Right.
So I am taking the heat at times for other businesses that are directly across the street from me. That's why I feel as though I was being targeted.
Right. I was there 2 weeks ago on a Monday, and there were like 31 cars parked on your property. I don't know how you get cars in. You had one little lane coming in to
We got it down to like 14 right now. I counted before I left.
Okay, yeah.
See, what happens sometimes is when Nick attends the Western auctions and things like that on Monday, we're pretty tight on Monday.
Oh, okay.
It takes us a couple days.
You had them crammed all over in the back and all over. It was like,
Yeah,
you
'cause we
couldn't
have
put a Volkswagen in there.
We have a certain amount of time, we have to pick them up from the auction, and they get brought to our location on Abbott. We tuck them in as far as we can until we gotta make a decision on.
If any of them cars started on fire or anything, it would be a real mess, I think.
So there's 14 today.
Okay. All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Aaron.
Grace?
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 19th, 2025.
Morano moves to adopt minutes of regular meeting, May 19th, 2025 is written.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to adopt minutes of the regular meeting of May 19th, 2025 is written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson? Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Comptroller's Office AP check listing number 37.
Morano moves to receive and file Department Report 1.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to receive and file Departmental Report 1. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Mayor Iafallo requests the City Council approve the ordinance for the proposed budget for 2025 to 2026.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinance.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to receive and file act on ordinance. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. An ordinance adopting the current expense budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. The fiscal year is August 1st of 2025 through July 31st of 2026. It is to determine the sum of $14,069,628 is necessary to be raised by taxation to defray costs for the 25-26 fiscal year with a unified tax rate of $18.13 of assessed valuation.
Morano moves to adopt ordinance as written.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson to adopt ordinance as written. Maflahe?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
No.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 3-2. First Ward Council member Maflahe submits to the council 4 topics for discussion. Letter C was withdrawn.
Morano moves to receive and file items A, B, and D.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to receive and file items A, B, and D. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Morano?
No.
Oh, sorry, Moretti?
No.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yeah.
Carried 4-1. City Attorney requests the City Council approve the resolution between the City of Lackawanna and Spectrum Northeast LLC and to authorize the mayor to sign the same.
Morano moves to receive and file act on resolution authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to receive and file act on resolution, authorize mayor to execute same. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. A resolution regarding the franchise renewal agreement between the city and Spectrum Northeast LLC, bringing the franchise agreement into conformity with certain provisions of the Federal Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984.
Morano moves to adopt resolution as written.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to adopt resolution as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Director of Marketing and Development requests the City Council approve 2 resolutions pertaining to the creation of an OLD/Central Business District Historic Property Overlay Zoning District.
Morano moves to receive and file act on resolutions, and a thank you to Director Clark for all his efforts on this matter.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to receive and file act on resolutions. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson? Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. A resolution amending Chapter 230 of the City Code to adopt the Central Business District Historic Property Overlay.
Morano moves to adopt resolution as written.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to adopt resolution as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. A resolution amending the zoning classification for 4 noted OLD properties from Central Business District to Central Business District Historic Property Overlay.
Morano moves to adopt resolution as written.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to adopt resolution as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. City Clerk requests the City Council approve the use of the Lackawanna Senior Center in the Bocce Court for the general election on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Agreement attached.
Morano moves to approve request.
Anderson second.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson to approve request. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. City Attorney requests the City Council approve the memorandum of understanding and addendum between the City of Lackawanna and Global Concepts Charter School and authorize mayor to execute same. The memorandum is for the Global Concepts Charter School shadowing program with the Law Department. 2 students will shadow the city attorneys for court proceedings, the council meeting, zoning and planning board meetings during the month of July 2025.
Morano moves to approve memorandum of understanding, authorize mayor to execute same.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to approve memorandum of understanding, authorize mayor to execute same. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. City Attorney requests the City Council rescind Chapter 5-50 of the Municipal Code, mayor's salary.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinance.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike to receive and file act on ordinance. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. An ordinance amending the Chapter 5-50 of the Lackawanna Municipal Code titled Mayor's Salary to be rescinded in its entirety.
Morano moves to adopt the ordinance as written.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike to adopt ordinance as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. City Comptroller requests approval of the ordinance adding a revenue code for cannabis tax distribution.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinance.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to receive and file act on ordinance. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. An ordinance amending the 2024-2025 budget ordinance, adding a revenue code for cannabis tax distribution and adding revenue in the amount of $195.25 to this budget code.
Morano moves to adopt the ordinance as written.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to adopt ordinance as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Communications from citizens. David Beers, owner of Sunny Reds, requests the city council approve his request for outdoor music, mechanical and at times live music. This would be weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the months of June, July, and August.
Morano moves to approve request.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike to approve request. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Socotra LLC, 671 Ridge Road, Ali Al-Durai and Sami Jamili, new owners, specialty coffee house.
Morano moves to approve business registration.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to approve business registration. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. We table then?
I requested this item be placed under table item so that we have a chance to talk to Nicholas Kortzkowski, which is good enough to come in, discuss this matter with us. I would ask the matter be placed, to be taken off the table at the next scheduled council meeting. So we'll get for an up or down vote.
Second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti, to place Public Auto Connect, Nicholas Kortzkowski, remove it from the table and placed on the next council meeting. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson? Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Adjournment.
Is there anything else by council members for old business or other table items? If not, Morano moves to adjourn.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti, to adjourn the meeting. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson? Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
Thank you, everyone.